A federally protected horse buried, another left severely injured nearby. Allegations of a Metro officer being at the center of it all. Fox 5's Victoria Saha has been investigating the rules that were broken and why residents up in a small community say they want something done about it. It's a story you'll see only here on Fox 5.
This is their winter coat.
Priscilla Benedict and her horses live in the Colt Creek community in the Spring Mountains. It's an area full of wildlife, including many wild horses and burros.
We see a lot of the same herds and horses, and we know them. They're almost like family to us.
But that family is protected by the federal government because they like to hang out on federally protected land.
And why do you love horses, animals of all kinds?
You know what? They amaze me with how big and powerful they are.
So she was caught off guard on the morning of March 5th when she saw a crowd of those horses gathering around.
Tons of horses in the road. And so we had to slow down, brake.
It didn't take her long to realize there was a dead horse buried on the side of the road.
And then one of its herd mates, one of the younger ones, was just standing here on top of it, sniffing.
Not too far away, there was a second horse badly injured.
Oh, baby.
It became clear to Benedict that both horses were likely hit by a car.
And she kept trying to walk on the leg, but obviously she couldn't put pressure on it.
One horse dead, and that second horse?
We still see this other second horse here, and don't really know how long it's going to take BLM to come up.
BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, is in charge of this federal land. The law says that these wild horses and burros are the living symbols of the West. The BLM and U.S. Forest Service are responsible for managing and protecting them. But it wasn't BLM that residents say they saw and seen that morning.
Quite a bit of debris, and there was a Metropolitan Police truck and an officer in uniform in the road. There was another black truck.
Resident Douglas Lynch was driving to work early that morning, telling me he recognized that officer as Adria Ford and her husband.
I saw one of the residents in a backhoe driving just uphill from that, which I thought was very peculiar because it is federal land, it's BLM land.
By mid-morning, word about the horses started to spread in this small mountain community. Lynch said he continued his day, trusting that since Officer Ford was on scene, the horses would be dealt with safely and properly.
Because now this is after 9 o'clock. Sounded like the original incident happened sometime before 6:30.
The community telling me they later realized Officer Ford and her husband were the ones who buried that first horse by the road and left the other injured horse alone. And that caused a dangerous situation as herd mates started to gather.
And then obviously the other horses are not wanting to leave this herd mate either.
It is a 300 or 400 yard stretch where routinely damage occurs to vehicles and wild horses and burros get killed.
Later that morning, complaints about the horses started coming into the BLM. BLM tells me they humanely euthanized the other injured horse later in the day. But we got this picture from a resident saying the horses were removed 2 days later. We don't know exactly where that horse was killed, but according to residents, what we do know is that the horse was brought and placed here, buried by the side of the road. They sent emails to the Bureau of Land Management, and according to those emails, they said that it was an illegal burial. But a few days later, they changed their tune, saying that the horse was buried in good faith.
What would you think would happen if you or I did that?
It seems a federal offense, I would think.
That's because it is a federal offense, and that's coming from the BLM themselves. In an email to me, John Aslan with the BLM tells me, quote, "It is illegal to move or bury a dead wild horse or burro and not notify the BLM. But the BLM was notified in this case." Moving on to say the act of burying was to shield a dead horse from public view. This would be the case no matter the person or where they are employed. But the images of how the horse was buried show it was still very much visible. I followed up with additional questions to the BLM, like if your team was notified, why didn't someone come right away? And did your team give the officer and her husband permission to bury the horse? This was their response. Victoria, the incident was reported properly and law enforcement determined that there was no criminal violation.
It makes you feel definitely like there's an unjust balance of powers and that there may be some corrupt politics that could be at hand.
Victoria Saha, Fox 5 News, Local, Las Vegas.
Now, Victoria reached out to the officer, Officer Ford, who happened to be the HOA president at the time, but she could not comment. She also discovered Metro had an internal investigation regarding the officer about this incident, but they later said she did not violate any policies. Fox 5 has made numerous requests to Metro for the documents regarding the internal affairs investigation, but we keep getting denied. We also put in a request for body cam footage from Officer Ford. When she responded that day, we're told that that could take months. Fox 5 will keep you updated on any new developments.